Iran before this 1979 and Islamic Revolution.
In the decades before the Islamic Revolution of 1979, Iran was ruled by the Shah, whose dictatorship repressed dissent and restricted political freedoms. But he pushed the country to adopt Western-oriented secular modernization, allowing some degree of cultural freedom. Under the Shah's rule, Iran's economy and educational opportunities expanded. Britain and the US counted Iran as their major ally in the Middle East, and the Shah forcefully industrialized large segments of the country. However, the Shah's increasingly authoritarian measures and his eventual dismissal of multi-party rule set the stage for the infamous revolution. Still, for a period of almost 40 years, the Shah led Iran through a series of sweeping changes. In 1953, the Shah had to flee Iran after a Western-backed coup to overthrow Iranian Prime Minister Mohammed Mossadegh failed. A second coup succeeded in overthrowing Mossadegh, who wanted to nationalize the Iranian oil industry to Britain's chagrin, and the Shah returned to the country. Like Ataturk in Turkey, Reza Shah undertook a series of reforms aimed at turning Iran into a modern westernized
nation.
These reforms included the structuring of Iran around a central Persian identity, the often brutal suppression of tribes and their laws in exchange for strong central government, and the expansion of women's rights. Like Ataturk, Reza Shah attempted to make religious observations subservient to the state. Part of Iran's method of achieving this was through the banning of veils in public. Women were also encouraged to attend school and receive an education. Although Reza Shah's intentions were to turn Iran into a modern westernized state, his bans on religious garments alienated and frustrated religious conservatives and traditionalists. Despite the backlash from religiously observant members of society, the Shah managed to create a seemingly cosmopolitan city life. Women and men mixed freely, and educational opportunities were greatly extended. Western clothing and norms also became ingrained into large segments of the Iranian population. Leading the charge for westernization was the Iranian royal family. Pictured below is Empress Soraya. Under the royal family's invitations, Iran became a popular destination for celebrities and heads of state. Here, an Italian actress and her husband visit a sports competition as guests of Iranian Princess Ashraf. The Iranian royal family reciprocated and widely toured the world's capitals. Here, the Shah and his wife met with Winston Churchill in London. Toward the end of the Shah's reign, the royal family attempted to rally the country around an increasingly historic nationalism based on the preceding Persian empires. In 1967, the Shah took the old Persian title Shah, or King of Kings, at a coronation ceremony in Tehran. Celebrations funded by the government were also launched throughout the country to honor the Persian roots of Iran. Here, gymnasts take part in an October 16, 1975, celebration honoring the founding of the Persian Empire. Despite Iran's views of the past, the government continued to value education and child development. Tehran funded study abroad in Europe for Iranians, and schools and clinics were built throughout the Iranian countryside to care for poorer children as part of the Shah's White Revolution. High oil prices and relative stability in the Middle East contributed to a growing business class in major Iranian cities. Here, Iranians swim in an octagonal swimming pool at the guest house of the Iranian National Oil Company. By 1975, Reza Shah abolished Iran's multi-party system and concentrated ever greater amounts of power in his own hands under the government-permitted Rastaqi's Resurrection Party. By January 16, 1979, Reza Shah fled Iran during the Iranian Revolution. The revolution started off as a popular movement fueled by outrage against government extravagance, corruption, brutality, and the suppression of individual rights, before being taken over by Ayatollah Khomeini. You've seen Iran before the revolution. Dr. Bill Podlich. Now check out what Afghanistan looked like before decades of war. Operation Enduring Freedom, the over 13-year-old campaign in Afghanistan, is just a few weeks away from ending. The next chapter in Afghanistan's modern history, one that's left all but the most remote corners of the country impacted by decades of conflict, is about to begin. The country remains deeply troubled, with the resurgent Taliban, a highly suspect military, and an economy where the opium industry remains the largest single employer. But before the US invasion, before the Russian war, and before the country's Marxist experiment, Afghanistan used to be a far different place. An astonishing collection of photos from the 1960s came to light in early 2013. In the 60s, amateur photographer and college professor Dr. William Podlich took a leave of absence from his job at Arizona State University to work with UNESCO in the Afghan capital of Kabul, bringing his wife and daughters with him. Later, his son-in-law Clayton Esterson found the late doctor's photos and put them on the web. The response was amazing. Esterson told the Denver Post, "Many Afghans have written comments on our website showing their appreciation for the photographs that show what their country was like before 33 years of war. This makes the effort to digitize and restore these photographs worthwhile." An earlier version of this article was produced by Jeffrey Ingersoll.
Oh, this is before and after. The same thing. Here's the bridge, and here's this bridge. Here's this water here. There's the water here. Cement ledge here. Cement ledge here. There's a gravel path here. Gravel path here. So this is before and this is after.